Galera, vocês sabem, né? Não é novidade pra ninguém que eu adoro videogames, né? Hello, meu canal. Se você é novo aqui, seja muito bem-vindo. Mas quem não é novo aqui sabe que eu adoro videogame, mas talvez seja novidade pra algumas pessoas, ou pra muitas, sei lá, que eu sou English teacher. Eu dou aula de inglês quando eu não tô apanhando nos meus jogos Souls likes. Aí eu pensei, por que não pegar inglês com videogame e colocar os dois juntos neste novo quadro Inglês com Games? Aqui no canal que a gente vai pegar o inglês e com esse molhozinho de videogame que a gente ama tanto para aprender sobre pronúncia, vocabulário, gramática, enfim, aprender o que a gente puder com o inglês, porque eu acho que videogames são uma excelente ferramenta para aprender inglês. E eu vou pegar um artigo, eu vou pegar alguma gameplay, alguma coisa. Eu ainda não tenho na minha cabeça assim, meu Deus do céu, como é que eu vou fazer isso? Eu ainda tá, gente, ainda tô construindo aqui e vou aplicar o inglês. Então, gente, sem mais, né, sem mais delongas, bora pro vídeo, flip the switch. Welcome to my channel. I hope you like it. Well, so to start this first video here, I had to. I mean, it was kind of fate. I had to bring Lies of P to the table because Lies of P is like one of my favorite games, period. And yesterday I came across this news article that the game sequel, it's full on production. And can we not talk about the whole AI thing? Can we just like be happy for me now because it's finally, oh my god, full whole like full steam. We're going in the right direction, and we'll read this article about the Life of P sequel has entered full-scale production, and Neo is Studios, right? Neo is the studio that is responsible for Lies of P, and we are already starting talking about a very, very, very common mistake I see Brazilians make, as with the regular past, like the ed here, that it's very common, but we tend to pronounce this ed, right? Entered. And that's like no, okay? You'll never pronounce ed, okay? You never pronounce ed. In fact, this you will pronounce the sound of D. Entered. Now, why is this important? It's important because English is a stress-timed language. So what does it mean to be stress-timed? What is stress, right? Stress is the strong syllable in a word. So, for example, I have open. Oh, it's going to be the stress word. I have photographer. Ta is going to be the stress word. So when I say that this is stress time language, is because the rhythm, the beats of the language is going to be dictated by kind of like a regular stress between the words. And it's kind of like the same interval. However, you stress the important words in a sentence, not all the words in a sentence. And why is this important? Because when you look at the word enter, we have enter, 2 syllables. Entered has 3 syllables. So if you put an extra syllable there, you might disrupt the whole rhythm. And not to mention that you're adding a syllable where there isn't none. So entered is not entered. The same thing that called is not called. So if you say called, they will probably not understand it. So it entered full scale production at NeoWiz. And here we have our first where are you? Okay, our first connected words. So remember this. People usually say that English speakers, they speak too fast. I can never understand them. They speak too fast. And it's like, how fast do you speak in your native language? How fast do you speak in Portuguese? Do you speak like this? Or do you speak in a natural speed? Right? So, and one of the reasons why it sounds like they speak very fast is just because they are going to link words together. And that happens all the time in English. And if you are from Minas Gerais, you cannot say a word about it because we do that too when you speak Portuguese. Okay? Don't go and tell me you say massa de tomate when I know really, really well that you will speak massa tomate. Okay? So let's put an end to the discussion. So, so when you have a word that ends in a consonant sound, and I want to stress that sound, and the next one starts with a vowel sound. Again, sounds in English are way more important than what is written. You're going to connect. So lies of, this is of, okay, this is off. This is of. So lies of P. Sorry, notice that you barely hear me saying of. So lies of P sequel has entered full scale production at NeoWiz. And that's it. Lies of P sequel has entered full scale production at NeoWiz. So if you want to repeat that 100 times, or as many times as you need it. Okay. So, okay. So here we have a lot of things to talk about. First things first, what do I see? What do I see? I see a consonant sound followed by a vowel sound. And I also see myself doing something stupid. What the hell was that? So we see a consonant sound followed by a vowel sound. And what do? We put these two words together. So when it comes to Soulsborne titles, Lies of P is arguably one of the best adaptations of the genre. One of the best adaptations. Notice that when I link the words, it's kind of like the next word steals, like gets the letter. Best adaptations of the genre. So look how many connections I did here. And here the S will have a sound of Z. And now I know, I can hear you. I already hear you complaining. See, that's why I don't study English, because English is way too complicated. Now, sweet darling, let me ask you a question. Say the word arroz for me in Portuguese, okay? Arroz. Now, the Z will sound like a Z or an S. An S, right? Arroz. Now, when we say arroz e feijão, does the Z sound like an S or a Z? I'll let you sit with that before you come at me to talk about English. Okay. And again, we have another ed case here. Received, that will sound like a D. And why is it important? Especially in cases like this, when I'm going to connect the words. So it's going to be the RPG received overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam. And has gone on to inspire several games, including Neo 3. I mean, are you surprised that the reviews were positive? I'm not. The game's freaking amazing. The title, okay. Another tip is when the word ends in LE, you're going to read it as EL. So the title also, the title, then you have the L sound here, also turned out to be. Now here you have another way we have to link the words. The same sounds, T, 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 turned out to be a massive success for developer NeoWiz, reaching 7 million players in 6 months and going on to sell 4 million copies worldwide. Which resulted in now that case, because the word result ends with a T sound, when you add ed, it's going to sound like id. Again, not like ed. So, or for example, when you have decide that ends with a D sound, the past will also sound like id. Those are the only cases that you will add an extra syllable, but it's resulted, decided, okay? So resulted in the game studio generating record revenue. Now, let's take a look here at the word record. I know here it's more of an adjective than a noun, but when not all of the time, because things they don't happen all the time in English and in any other language. If you want to talk about exceptions, okay, learn like accents in Portuguese, okay? And we have the noun and the verb that they spell the same. Again, that won't happen to every word, but to a lot of words. To say which one is which. When it's a noun, the stress is here. When it's the verb, the stress is here. So record, world record, and record. Record, record. Now, notice how, oh my God, excuse me. So when I say record, record, look how much longer the record, the syllable record is. Now, when I have record, the syllable cord is going to be longer. So I'm recording a video right now. We have examples such as address and address. Address is the noun. So what's your address? Whatever. And address, which is the verb. So I need to address the situation. Now, same thing here. Address. Look how the syllable is much longer. Address. So that's how you can say which one's verb, which one is the noun. Again, won't happen to every case, but it happened often enough that it's sort of like a rule. Unsurprisingly, the game's sequel has been in development for a while and has reportedly entered full production. And now, the game's sequel has been in development for a while. And remember, here is like this. While and has reportedly entered full production. So the game sequel has been in development for a while and has reportedly entered full production now. So notice how I never really stop in the middle of a sentence. In English, we have what we called thought groups, okay? And in thought groups, what are thought groups? Thought groups are complete sentences with a complete idea. So if I tell you something like, I like, you'll be like, is it a complete idea? No, because you'll be like, all right, what do you like, babes? And I say, I like games. I like games, guys. I like games. Okay. Now, I like games. That's a full idea. So when you look here, the game sequel has been in development for a while. Now, if imagine that was the whole sentence here. The game sequel has been in development for a while. Period. You'll be able to understand. However, we have two sentences here. So here I will make like a brief pause because I have completed the first thought group and I go to the second thought group and has reportedly entered full production now. So unsurprisingly, the game sequel has been in development for a while and it has reportedly entered full production now. If you stop in the middle of a thought group, and you say the game sequel has been in development for a while, they understand that when you say for a while, you're starting a new idea. That when you stop, your idea is it's like everything you needed to say about that, it's complete. And so you don't stop in the middle of a sentence. You stop when your idea is complete. And if it's like here, we have like one clause, two sentences, it's a brief pause. When you finish a sentence, like a clause, then it's a longer pause. So it's like this, which resulted in the studio generating record revenue. Unsurprisingly, the game sequel has been in development for a while and has reportedly entered full production now. So the differences in pauses show you, okay, start a new sentence now, or brief pause, continuing the same clause now. So that's important to know. Why it matters. Why it matters. Here we have what I like to call barata sound, because that's when the T or the D will have the sound of ra, like in barata, or like in my name in Portuguese, Ayra, will have this ra sound. Now, why it matters? Again, this is for American English, all right? Not matters, matters. So why it matters? Why it matters? When will I have T and D having a barata sound? Between two vowels in the syllable that is not stressed. Like a classic example I like to give is photo, photograph, but photographer, because ta is the stressed syllable, you cannot make the barata sound. But both photo and photograph, the T is not in the stressed syllable. So go ahead. Can I say photograph, photographer, photograph, photo? Yeah, you're free to say it. But know that ra might be a T or D. And how do I know? Well, the context, babes. Context. So metal and metal sound the same. Isn't it nice? Ah, I love English. I really do. So why it matters. Lies of P is arguably one of the best adaptations of the Soulsborne genre. Now, the word genre in Portuguese, it might be confusing because we have the word genre and gender. Now, when we're talking about gender, we're talking about feminine and masculine. So when a person is transgender, where genre, we're talking about like movie genre, literary genre, games genre, like comedy, fiction, romance, horror. Those are genres, not genders. Okay. So, genre, gender. Okay, everybody with me, genre, gender. So careful to not mix these up, because in Portuguese they both translate to gênero, but in English they are different. So hence, for this reason, a sequel that builds on concepts introduced by the original is a big win for fans. Yes, yes. And we have ED here, and I'm gonna make your mind explode a bit, because in this case here is going to have a sound of a T. It's going to be introduced. Introduced. Not introduced. Introduced. Okay? Because introduce, 3 syllables, introduced, 3 syllables, and has the T sound. So the concepts introduced by the original is a big win for fans. Again, for fans. For fans. Not for fans, okay? For fans. For fans. 4 is number 4. In this case here, for is going to be a preposition, for. I don't know, like, are you kind of like gathering a pattern so far? That when we're talking about prepositions in a sentence, we usually don't stress them. We just like kind of make them like we reduce the sound. Yeah, right? Because this is a way to keep the musicality, the rhythm of English. Okay. So, as revealed in EOE's Q1 financial report, Lies of P has entered full-scale production at the studio after the sequel's prototype passed examination. At the studio, at the studio, at the studio, at the studio, at the studio. Okay? And again, the words past, I'm covering the words past and past will have the exact same pronunciation. Repeat, past, past, not passed. Okay? So I passed my exam. I passed my exam. Okay? So, and again, why is it important? Because when I connect here, prototype past examination, you will hear the sound of a T, past examination. And that's one of the ways to signal to the listener that you're talking about the past. Here's a verb in the past. The first game's DLC was responsible for stabilizing the company's revenue during this quarter, hence fast-tracking the sequel. Here, TT, fast-tracking, not fast-tracking, fast-tracking. 1 T, you are connecting these two sounds together. Newiz has previously confirmed the Lies of P will be developed in, developed in Unreal Engine. So Lies of P2 will be developed in Unreal Engine 5, unlike the first title, unlike, differently from. Moreover, other reports have suggested that the sequel could take more open world approach. Now, when I have a word that finishes in D, why are you so strong? Finishes in D and the next starts in a T, I will not say the D. Okay, so that's called sort of like it's elision. So could take. Now, remember when I said at the beginning, consonant sound, take. What's the last sound? Take more. It's going to be my last sound. More open world approach. So this, you're going to say that the sequel could take a more open world approach. The sequel could take a more open world approach. Okay, so that's why we sometimes think that people in English speak fast. But let's go. Other reports have suggested that the sequel could take a more open world approach to the game world, exciting fans even more about the upcoming game. That has not excited me for even a bit. I would rather not have an open world, but we'll save my opinions to the end. All right, so the Korean company did not disclose any other details about the upcoming title in the financial report. Again, any other details about the upcoming title in the financial report? So ends in LE, you most likely pronounce EL, title. So upcoming title in the financial report. However, with reports suggesting that Lies of P could be heading to Nintendo Switch 2, fans will have something to look forward to while the sequel undergoes development. So Lies of P was available for PlayStation 4, so I don't see why not it wouldn't go for Nintendo Switch 2. And if you have a Nintendo Switch 2 and it does come to the console, play it. Look forward is a phrasal verb that means to be anxious. Now remember, I say that you almost all the times you don't stress the preposition, but in case of phrasal verbs, that's different because you're going to say look up. And notice that look up, that I know that up is stressed because the sound of oh gosh, I'm always forgetting about this. Look up, because the sound of up is the longest. Look up. Okay, get in. In these cases, you will stress the preposition because in this specific case, the preposition is modifying the verb. Okay, so when you look forward to something, you're anxious. And if you have a verb here, the verb is in ing. So I look forward to playing the Lies of P sequel because, oh my God, how can you not be excited? Unless you're dead inside. Furthermore, considering how Neo has plans to build franchises based on its video games, there is a very good chance Lies of P are set for the long term. Lies of P is set for the long term, right? Because Lies of P is the title and it's just one singular. So Houston, we have a problem here. So okay, do you, when you're speaking, becomes ja? Do you think Lies of P is going to be as good as the original? Do you think Lies of P is going to be as good as the original? Should Neo switch to Unreal Engine 5 for the sequel? So let's answer. these questions below here. So, do I think Lies of P is going to be as good as the original? I surely hope that it's going to be better than the original. However, the whole open world approach, I'm not really sure about it because it took how many titles? Like it took From Software years and many games to to dabble in like the open world area, right? And Lies of P is the first Souls like Soulsborne, whatever you want to call it, game from the studio, and they hit they hit it like they did it so right, and it's almost like shocking when you see like the previous games they've developed it, and then you see them like making Lies of P. It's like, what the hell? For me, Lies of P is better than even some of From Software games, okay? But I don't like this open world approach for reasons that Elden Ring, in my opinion, it's a good game. Don't come at me, Elden Ring fans, okay? Okay, I'm not killing anyone's mom, but I just don't like the open world aspect of it, especially in the final areas of the game that for me were really, really boring. But not just that, but also the fact that whenever I think of replaying Elden Ring, I even start a character, but then I think, oh my god, it's such a big world. Like, do I really want to go and do so? Um, n- so I just end up not replaying it. I've played it once, and I was like, I made sure I had a save before I killed the boss because I knew there was a DLC coming. I did not want to play it on a New Game Plus. I did not play the game all over again. So I had my save there prepared for the DLC, and that's what I did. And one of the things that I really enjoy about Lies of P, it's because it's a more linear game, and you go and you find shortcuts that will you go and circle back into the stargazer, and like, oh, thank the Lord, I had like 0 like healing pulse cells, but now I'm with a shortcut. Stargazer is here. Same with Bloodborne. Oh god, come on. I mean, you can't forget the feeling in Sensory Arnhem when you find your first shortcut and you're like, oh god, thank god you're here. Like I love this about the games, this game, and an open world is like too open, and there's so much a studio will have like originality and time and assets to develop. No wonder the final areas of the game, like it was a lot of repeated enemies. So I honestly, I did not enjoy the final areas of Elden Ring. Just like I'll put it on record right here. So I don't like the open world approach. I am curious to see whether or not they're keeping the character or if they're changing it. I'm not going to spoil it, but there is a huge post-credit scene that reveals, I remember was like, I was flabbergasted. I was like, oh my God. So I don't know how they'll do it. I don't know how they'll keep it. So I'm very curious about that as well. And of course, I love P, but I'm curious, like, how are they going to do this whole thing? Because, like, lying is very, very much intertwined with Pinocchio's story, at least like in the Disney fairy tales and the story that most people know. But I don't know, like I'm curious, but I trust them because they have delivered one of my favorite games of all time, Lies of P, and I cannot wait to see what they're coming up with in the next game. And if you haven't played Lies of P, what are you waiting, babes? Go like now, finish this game, this video, subscribe to this channel, and move on. Go and buy and play it because it's freaking amazing. And if you have stayed all the way here, like, thank you so much. Write down like ideas on what you'd like to see on this new segment here on my channel. And now let me go back to Portuguese. É isso aí, galera. Então, se vocês gostaram, deem dicas, falem aqui o que vocês acharam legal no vídeo, se vocês aprenderam alguma coisa, se teve alguma coisa que foi novidade para vocês, e deixem sugestões de como vocês gostariam de ver esse quadro, e quanto mais sugestões eu tiver, mais vídeos vão acontecer. E porque eu não quero ficar uma coisa só de ficar lendo artigo o tempo inteiro, fazer uma live, enfim. Não sei, mas eu espero que vocês tenham gostado do vídeo. Se inscrevam aqui no canal e eu vejo vocês no meu próximo vídeo. Um beijo enorme pra vocês. Se hoje foi seu aniversário, parabéns. Se inscreve aqui, carai. É de graça, pô. Você tá aqui até agora, não se inscreveu por quê? Enfim, galera, boa jogatina pra vocês e até o próximo vídeo. Tchau, tchau. Ah! Classificamos, hein?